Welcome back, lovelies. It's War Baby. Before we get started, there's a brand new podcast, and it's called True Crime Deadline. Go behind the scenes with investigative journalist Matt Johnson as he goes over cases he's covered on TV, but with extras and interviews you won't find there. True Crime Deadline is quickly becoming one of my favorites. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review. I know you'll love it. The length is just right, and the interviews add juiciness to stories you may think you already know. Stay tuned after the episode to hear the promo.
Just so you know, this show is about scary stuff. So don't say I didn't warn you guys. And remember, don't be scared.
Episode 37. Expecting Wild Wild West, Part 3. It's Sunday, June 24th, 2007, when a call came in to the Pinal County Sheriff's Office south of Phoenix. A couple in Queen Creek, Arizona, are reporting that they've returned home from vacation to a terrifying sight. Their home has been ransacked, and their daughter is nowhere to be found. The scene they've come home to is nothing less than disturbing. 17-year-old Amber Leanne Hess's parents have returned from a quick jaunt south of the border, a trip that they wanted her to join them on. A recent high school graduate, the teen already had plans. Amber was one of a few of her group of friends who had their own car, a 2002 Mitsubishi, and they all enjoyed cruising and trying to find something to do. The Queen Creek Santan Valley area was booming in 2007, an affordable suburb interspersed with rural and farming areas. That is, if you didn't mind the slightly longer commute. Upon her parents' return from their weekend away, they encounter an empty house. The back door is open, and the garden hose has been stretched from the yard into the kitchen. The hose is running, and water is cascading back out into the yard. It's aimed at a shockingly large pool of coagulated blood in what appears to be a half-hearted attempt at rinsing it away. There's an imprint of what appears to be a knife. There's blood spatter all over the entire kitchen, floor, ceiling, cabinets, appliances. The curtains have been pulled down from the window, and a pillowcase has been hung in its place. Something truly sinister had taken place here. As deputies searched the scene, they found that Amber's door has been pulled completely off its hinges and that the blanket is missing from her bed. Amber's parents report that they've been trying to reach her by phone without success and give detectives the names of her closest friends. They send them down the road to speak to 16-year-old Todd Hoke, Amber's best friend. He lived with his grandmother, who was his legal guardian, although his mom also lives with them. She had a history of substance abuse issues, and tensions remained high in the home. Todd felt his grandmother was too strict, and he spent quite a bit of time at the Hess home. Even though Todd was a freshman and Amber a junior in high school when they became friends, the two formed a sibling-like bond. Todd found it easier and easier to confide in Amber as things at home failed to improve. They hung out nearly every day, doing homework, studying, and playing video and computer games. He was a regular fixture at their dinner table over the course of Amber's junior and senior years at Coolidge High School, while he was a freshman and sophomore. Eventually, though, as boys often do, Todd got a girlfriend, and right away she wasn't in love with the fact that his best friend was a girl. She felt threatened by another woman knowing the inner complexities of their relationship, a natural reaction. Instead of attempting to befriend Amber, Todd's new girlfriend antagonized and threatened her, outright demanding she just stay away. She bullied Amber at school, even pulling a knife on her and telling her she would kill her if she didn't stay away from Todd. At first, Amber just deals, trying to convince herself that she and Todd are just friends. But that isn't exactly the case. Amber has a crush on Todd, but he does not feel the same. Todd and his girlfriend fought a lot, and he made it a habit of bringing his problems to Amber's house. Amber did her best to counsel her friend, but their relationship was so volatile, all she could really do was encourage him to end it. Eventually, Todd's girlfriend made him choose, and he pulled away from Amber. It didn't take long for Amber to feel worn down by the constant abuse, and Todd's failure to stand up for her was definitely getting old. She decided to pull back from their friendship too and stop putting so much effort and concern into Todd's life. Her grades had been slipping and she needed to adjust her priorities as graduation loomed. Amber began to work hard to catch up, partying less, improving on her studies, and working at the local Sonic restaurant. Then, out of the blue, Todd was back at her house, apologizing and letting Amber know that he and his girlfriend were no longer together. Before you knew it, the former best friends were current lovers, and Amber soon found out she was pregnant just a few weeks before her high school graduation. She was excited and told Todd, hoping he would be excited too, but he doesn't even think the baby is his, and he lets Amber know that he and his girlfriend have gotten back together. According to Amber's father, she was devastated and felt betrayed. With just a few weeks to go before graduation, Todd had now joined his girlfriend in belittling Amber in front of their classmates at Coolidge High School, and she completely pulled back from any interaction with them. The day before her graduation, Amber chatted optimistically with a co-worker at Sonic about the pair of them attending Mesa Community College in the fall, and they went on to graduate, not knowing that in less than 1 month she would be dead. Just a few weeks later, Todd was back at the Hess home, this time to apologize for his previous behavior. He wanted to be friends again. The two of them had been too close for too long to just never speak again. Todd had regularly made Amber his shoulder to cry on, and she enjoyed the feeling of being needed that their friendship provided her. She had no issue welcoming him back into her life. After interviewing Amber's girlfriends, investigators are pointed toward both her current and ex-boyfriends, both of whom her parents are unaware. When they speak to her former boyfriend, Chris, they find that his alibi is watertight. He said he was watching his nephews all weekend, and his mother and sister confirmed. Chris mentioned Amber's new boyfriend, and detectives let him know they already had him in their sights. Before they speak to her boyfriend, Ken, detectives see that he has a juvenile criminal record. After pinging Ken's cell phone to determine his location, detectives find he is at home and stake him out all night. Come dawn, he's taken into custody and questioned, but his alibi is solid. He lives in Mesa, about 20 minutes away from Queen Creek, so it was unlikely he could have slipped away and returned without anyone taking notice. Amber had a pretty large friend group, including boys and girls. Boyfriends ruled out, the investigation into classmates continues. Everyone identifies Todd Hoke as Amber's best friend, and when they speak to him, he isn't of much help. Todd said that he and his friend Nick were supposed to meet Amber on Friday night so the three of them could see a movie. He said they spoke around 5 p.m., but that she never showed up. Todd said he and Nick went ahead and saw the movie, and then he spent Friday night sleeping over at Nick's house. 16-year-old Nicholas Castillo corroborated this story, and his mother confirmed. She said that the boys had stayed in the house on Friday night and Saturday. Bank records indicated that someone used Amber's debit card to withdraw cash at an ATM prior to the time she should have been heading to the movies. But according to her friend, she didn't show. Detectives checked the camera on the ATM and can plainly see that Amber was alone during the transaction, so that helped to rule out kidnapping for robbery as a motive. Attempting to establish a timeline of Amber's last activities was crucial to this investigation. Since her parents were out of town, most of her friends figured she would just be relaxing at home or hanging out like usual. ATM camera footage showed Amber alive in the evening, but there were no other signs of actions or movements until the phone records came in. Here, several outgoing calls are shown being made early Saturday morning, hours after any hint of Amber had last been seen. Many tips were coming in, and the public clearly had their eyes wide open for both Amber and her missing car. On Monday, June 25th, Pinal County Sheriff's deputies were out canvassing, looking for Amber's missing vehicle, but instead discovered burned human remains in the desert just off Hunt Highway. The charred body was located not far from a frequently traveled path, and little effort had gone into its concealment. Purple toenail polish was visible, lending credence to the theory that this victim was a female. She was wrapped in the remains of a bedspread, and both had been soaked with gasoline and set ablaze. Amongst the remains, several singed scraps of photographs were nestled within the folds of the blanket. However, enough remained that they could see the name Amber was written on the back. Through the use of dental records, the medical examiner positively identified the victim as 17-year-old Amber Leanne Hess. Neighbors quickly convened and set up a memorial motorcycle run to help Amber's parents raise money for funeral expenses. Coolidge High School arranged for counselors to help any kids in the community struggling with the news of Amber's murder. The viciousness of the attack made investigators feel the killers were likely known to Amber. Her home showed no signs of forced entry. At the dumping ground where Amber's body was discovered, tire tracks matching her Mitsubishi were identified. 2 different sets of shoe prints were also found, and investigators began to formulate a how, just not a why yet. Tips had been coming in from the public, and even Todd Hoke's sister gave a voluntary statement describing how she received several phone calls from her brother in the early morning hours of Saturday, June 23rd. It was just after when Amber was believed to have been killed. She said her brother called from a block number 3 times that night and then turned up back at home a few hours later. Todd popped in and gathered a variety of cleaning supplies: gloves, paper towels, and spray cleaners, whatever he could find. A few friends of the boys mentioned they paid surprise visits to them as well with the same strange request. They speak to Nick again, but now they know he has a juvenile record and is currently on probation. Not only that, but his behavioral issues have progressed to the point that he had been expelled from Coolidge High School. The previous November, Nick had been charged with assault and disorderly conduct after getting into a fight. In addition to probation, he was required to take anger management and perform community service. This time he said that after he and Todd saw the movie Without Amber, Todd went to Coolidge about 20 minutes away and hung out with his girlfriend. Around 1 a.m., Nick said that Todd came back to his house to spend the night. Detectives began to theorize that Todd called his sister from Amber's phone after he returned from his girlfriend's house, blocking the number so his sister wouldn't know. And Nick changing his story doesn't lessen the suspicion beginning to blossom. They let Nicholas know that Amber's burned remains have been found in the desert, hoping that this revelation would elicit some emotion or response. It doesn't. Just then, an eagle-eyed couple noticed Amber's car, and it was a nightmare to behold. The trunk was full of dried blood that extended out onto the outside and bumper, and the inside provided even more detailed evidence, as fingerprints were lifted from the blood smeared on both the gearshift and the steering wheel. Of most interest to deputies is the fact that her Mitsubishi is discovered just between Todd Hoke and his friend Nicholas Castillo's. Having traced the outgoing calls on Amber's phone bill to the Hoke residence and matched them to the block calls received by Todd's sister, detectives brought the boys in for further questioning. Todd Hoke and his grandmother came in, as did Nicholas Castillo. Todd stuck to his story, saying that Amber never showed when they were supposed to see a movie Friday night. He claims to not have spoken to or seen her again. But now, Nick Castillo has a lot more to say, especially after detectives lead him to believe that Todd has told them everything that happened was Nick's idea. Hearing this really upset him, and soon Nick was giving them the real story. 16-year-old Nicholas Castillo said that it wasn't him, but Todd Hoke that wanted Amber dead. That it was Todd Hoke that had an issue with Amber, that he just didn't like her anymore. Todd had planned for weeks to kill Amber, and he planned to do it when Amber's parents weren't home. Nick takes them back to the previous Friday night, saying that all 3 of them had actually seen that movie. Even though the pair had repeatedly told investigators that Amber never showed up, She actually did.